In two cases, the Supreme Court says police officers were entitled to qualified immunity when using force. In two unsigned opinions, the court stressed police are entitled to be shielded from liability unless it is clear to a reasonable officer that their actions are unlawful. Now, qualified immunity protects officials from lawsuits unless it can be proven they violated clearly established rights a reasonable person would know they have. One case involved an officer putting his knee on a man's back during an arrest while removing a knife from his pocket. In the other case, two officers shot and killed a man after he appeared to threaten them with a hammer. Now, police reform advocates have called for an end to qualified immunity, arguing it insulates officers from accountability for wrongdoing. DeMario, when you look at these cases here, it speaks volumes, if you will, to this balance that we're trying to strike. And again, police officers, I mean, they want to protect, they want to keep this in, but the bottom line is here. We've got to deal with this reality of how this is impacting accountability. And so we don't have the Georgia Floyd Justice Act. It still hasn't passed on the congressional level, but you do have efforts where it can be impacted on the state level.
Yeah, Roland, this is something, as you know, I deal with on a daily basis in my practice. We do a lot of issues having to deal with qualified immunity, and it's one of the worst things that can happen to a family. Let's use my client, Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, whose twin brother Terrence was shot in 2016. Because of qualified immunity, this case has been sitting in court for almost 3 years, not being able to move forward because the other side has asserted qualified immunity. And what that does, not only does it prolong things, but it actually stops the court case until the judge decides the qualified immunity issue. It's very destructive. It doesn't allow families to have closure, and it allows these rogue officers to literally get away with murder. In the case, one of the cases that you were talking about is right here in Oklahoma, in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, where they cornered a man who they knew was intoxicated. They knew he was not in his right mind. They cornered him in his garage, and they forced the issue. And when he had a hammer in his hand, they could have backed out. They could have used pepper spray. They could have used a taser, but instead they shot him multiple times and killed him. And what the 10th Circuit stated was, hey, you can't cause a problem and then shoot someone and say, oh, well, qualified immunity. But the Supreme Court has allowed this to happen. And this is what people need to understand, why we need this federal legislation and we need these states to pass legislation to get rid of qualified immunity. It's not in the statute. It is a court-created law that was created by the court back in the early 1980s when civil rights attorneys were able to use 1983 legislation to finally hold officers accountable. This is a big impediment to accountability and justice for people who are brutalized by the state. It must end, it must end, it must end, and we must do everything we can to make sure it happens.
This is something, Georgia, again, that we have to deal with. In Maryland, the governor, Larry Hogan, Republican, he vetoed the repeal of the Bill of Rights. It was overwritten by the Maryland legislature. That's one of the areas there. Now, obviously, they want to see action on the federal level, but people can still move on the state and local level. We can't hear you, Georgia. All right, hold on 1 second. I still can't hear you. We'll get your audio straight. Okay, so hold tight 1 second. I'm going to go to Omekongo, and then we'll come back to you. Omekongo?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think that when we look at these situations in cases like this, my main problem when I see this right now is that this is like a sign of things to come, which I think can be very scary. And really, at the end of the day right now, I'm glad is what DeMario was talking about in terms of there's other ways we can get around this, because we have to fight every single day just to make sure that the basics are taken care of. And one of the challenges we see right now is that these police don't care about de-escalation techniques. They don't care about fully engaging with the community. And we're going to get more situations like this. And when I see it right now, I feel like this type of case is going to make these officers feel like they are empowered to do more of this. And so we have to keep making sure that we're fighting at the local level in every way possible in order to make sure that this doesn't continue. But I got to tell you, Roland, when I first heard about these the rulings, I was like, okay, this is terrible. But then I was like, let me go and actually read what the cases were when it was sent to us. And I'm like, wow, these are basic interactions that happen with us every day. And now they're going to feel like they can get away scot-free with a lot of this, and it's a really scary time right now.
Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo that. I think even here in Minneapolis, we're seeing the aftermath of community trying to figure out what is the best way to move forward with the police department that's currently being investigated by the Department of Justice. And so that is one thing that makes me hopeful that the DOJ is not only investigating the Minneapolis Police Department, but also investigating Louisville, where Breonna Taylor was killed. But what really concerns me is the recent loopholes that we have learned about here. When you have, whether it's sheriffs or police officers who are deputized to serve on a federal task force, they actually do not have to wear body cameras. And we learned about that in June when Winston Smith was fatally shot by a U.S. Marshal. And we were told that there's absolutely no body camera footage of this incident at all. How can that be in 2021 when we've already gone through this and it is recommended best practices that law enforcement agencies utilize body camera footage for transparency and accountability? But yet and still there are these loopholes that we're just now learning about. And so we have to move to a place as a country where we're not reactive. We're not waiting until another Black man is killed before we decide, oh, we need to change these laws. We should be taking these measures proactively before someone is killed.
You know, this is again, one of those issues that is at the center of this debate, if you will, DeMario, this battle going back and forth, and these unions are going to fight like crazy to ensure this does not get removed.
No question, the unions, because they don't want their officers to have accountability. That's why, I mean, obviously we're all advocates for body cams and different type of training, but at the end of the day, it's just like basic second 2-4-year-old. If there's no accountability, if they can get away with it, they will do it. And what we've seen now, and it's been really frightening over the last few years, is we've seen video after video after video, and people still do it. They know they have videos on. Last week, Roland, we talked about the officer who kicked the man in the face in Indianapolis. That guy knew he had a body cam on. He still did it because he feels like he can get away with it. So I would encourage everyone that's listening right now, reach out to your city councilor, your county commissioner, and your state representative and tell them to repeal qualified immunity within their state. Colorado's done it as a state. New Mexico has done it. New York City has repealed qualified immunity. So even though we don't have it on a federal level, we must continue to attack qualified immunity. It is the single biggest impediment to police accountability that is out there right now. They can kill people, beat people, steal money. They heard a case in Fresno last term at the Supreme Court where these two officers literally stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from an individual, and the Supreme Court said, well, it wasn't, it's clearly established law that they did not have the right to steal this money. They literally stole money from a citizen, and the Supreme Court said qualified immunity protected them from prosecution, from being sued. And that's what we're up against, and that's why it's so imperative.
Folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Once upon a time, there lived a princess with really long hair who was waiting for a prince to come save her. But really, who has time for that?
Let's go. Feeling myself. I'm feeling
She ordered herself a ladder with Prime one-day delivery, and she was out of there.
I'm with some hood girls looking back at it, and a good girl in my tax bracket.
Now, her hairdressing empire is killing it. And the prince, well, who cares? Prime changed everything.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Wow. Roland was amazing on there.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't
commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?